Hey, what's up, FLC family? So glad you chose to join us today for our follow-up video. We're kind of doing the mix-up here, and so I get to ask the questions because Pastor Mike, our associate pastor here, preached this past Sunday.
Yeah.
I was not here because I was preaching.
You were kind of here.
At my dad's church, but then I was kind of here. Not only in spirit, but on video. But anyway, incredible feedback from Sunday. Awesome. And so, can't wait to listen to it. It's going to be great. But anyway, so we've got a few things to cover because I know even though you preached a 50-minute sermon. All right. So if you were there, it's not just me. All right, it's other people.
Where's my plaque?
This is I think it's your first 50-minute sermon.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I told Mike that I'd get him a plaque, for the first, 50-minute sermon. And so, but I have not, I have not made that yet.
Put it on my wall.
I'll probably get my daughter to draw it or something. It'll be great. I don't know. But you did. You went. So you covered a lot because there was a lot of things to cover in this particular sermon. I mean, because
so much.
You technically had Exodus 18 and 19, whereas we had the focus in chapter 19.
Right.
And so what did you leave out? Did you leave anything out, or did you get a chance to cover everything?
Well, you would think because I preached for so long that I would have covered everything. But I really didn't. I mean, because whenever we were in Exodus, we actually just read like verses 4 through 6 and then went straight to 1 Peter 2. And then we were there like the entire time of the service. And so then I read all of those scriptures, verses I think 1 through 10 and 1 Peter 2, and then really focused on verses 9 and 10.
Yeah.
And I just step by step. I mean, we walked through who we are whenever we become Christians. Right there, God's calling us and showing us our identity. And the whole concept was, a lot of people see themselves and wondering who they are and trying to find themselves throughout this journey of life. Whenever it tells us where you have a specific thought, maybe a person has, but scriptures tell us clearly who we are already. Yeah. If we are in Christ, if we call ourselves followers of Jesus, then this is who we are. If we're the saved children of God, this is who we are in verses 9 and 10. And so, then, there's verses 1 through 8, that I didn't really go over. And so,
well, go ahead. Clock's running.
We got the time, right? Yeah. So verses 1 through 8, I didn't really cover, too much. But there was, a specific part whenever it talks about how, our bodies, how we are to offer spiritual sacrifices. And I could have gone to Romans 12, where we are the living sacrifices, where we present our bodies as living sacrifices, and kind of talk about that. And I didn't, obviously because of time. It wasn't really, it does connect because it's in those, 10 verses right there. It's all connecting, to that. But it was, what are the living sacrifices? What do you mean that we are living sacrifices? I think that would have been a completely different sermon, and it would have had to take, a lot of time on that, which we didn't have, obviously. And, so whenever I look at those texts and I see that we are living sacrifices, like our bodies are being presented as the spiritual offerings, and then, connecting it to the Old Testament, because sacrifices in the Old Testament, especially, through the books of the law, are just so prevalent there. You just see so many sacrifices, and what does this mean? And then we connect it always to Jesus' sacrifice. Yeah. Well, if Jesus' sacrifice is the once and for all, then why do we have to have, why are our bodies the living sacrifice? Like where does that all kind of connect and stuff? And I read a bunch on it, and it was really fun to look up and see what other people thought, and then really seeing what I do whenever I'm looking at a certain scripture is that I love just reading it, thinking about it, and then going to people that are smarter than me, seeing what they have to say, going through all of that. I love, connecting verses and looking up words and stuff like that. So, but in a nutshell, it was really one of those things where, everything that we do, we're storing up treasures in heaven and stuff. So whenever we look at ourselves being a sacrifice, that's exactly what it is. We're sacrificing ourselves for other people. We're sacrificing ourselves, putting others in front of ourselves, putting God in front of us, everything that He wants and that other people need and stuff, which is obviously Him. So if we're just putting and laying ourselves down for others and for God, we think of the greatest commandment, to love the Lord with God with all of your heart, mind, soul, and then the seconds like it, love your neighbor as yourself. We are laying ourselves down for those people and for our God. Yeah. And that's kind of what the scripture is talking about is that we're just getting rid of everything that's going to be standing in our way, and we're going to sacrifice all of our wants. We're going to sacrifice the things that we're really into maybe, and then laying ourselves down for others. Yeah. And that's the spiritual sacrifice. That's our, that's laying ourselves down for the Lord. And it's one of those things where people look at that and they're like, they don't really make that connection, but that's essentially what it is that we are continually just laying ourselves down before other people, before our God, and putting others first before ourselves. Yeah. And stuff. And I think we could have talked about that for a very long time. Yeah. But it's interesting and just really good to know this is what we're called to do as believers. Yeah.
Well, there's an idea in I know that the text that you read in Exodus, the particular text that was kind of the launching point, God uses a phrase, if you do this, if you keep my commandments, keep my covenant is really the word that he uses, at least in the ESV. Right. If you keep my covenant, then you will be, you're going to be my people. You're going to be this holy nation, this kingdom of priests. And that's kind of the launching point. But I want to talk about the if statement. Can you maybe help us think about, is God is it a conditional thing? Is this well, if you'll do this, then I'll make this work? What's going on with an if statement like that? Because that actually comes up, in multiple verses. We know one of the most famous ones is, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, I'll heal them. I'll heal their land. So is God playing the conditional game with us, or what's happening in an if text like that?
Yeah. Whenever I look at texts like that, I look at, where they are in the Bible and what's the context and everything like that. And so then we're about to actually get into something that's going to be, pretty fun. Yeah. Which is the commandments, after our Easter, after the Easter series goes on, and that gets all through with, we're taking a little bit of a break, but we're going to get into commandments. And I think, without spoiling what you're going to be talking about, it's one of those things if you can do this, I know you can't, but if you do. So I think what the Lord was always trying to do, and then Jesus clarifies later in the New Testament, is that this is an if thing, but then also he wants it to translate into more of a love thing. Yeah. And stuff where if you love me, where Jesus says this, if you love me, then you'll obey my commandments and stuff. So it translates into a love thing. And people, in the Old Testament, they see it as, man, we gotta do this, and 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 this, to be able to, live this perfect life and to be a part of his covenant, be part of his people, his nation. And whenever I see that in the Old Testament, to me, it's really, I see the Lord setting up what's going to happen. And then Jesus always, which is Jesus, and then Jesus coming back, showing them everything in the Old Testament, saying, look, y'all missed what we were saying back then.
Yeah.
Y'all missed what was happening back then, because we want to bless you. It's the same with your kids. You know, whenever you look at your kids, and it's like, hey, if you'll do this right, hey, we'll go to the park today. You know, if I just want you to clean your room, you know, and then we'll go to the park and stuff, you'll have this reward. And it's not that I want you to clean your room so that you'll achieve some type of proudness from me. Like, I'll be so proud of you. Like, I'm always proud of my children. I love my children no matter what. But I want them to do what's right. I want to show them this is the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And if they don't, then I'm not going to reward them by taking them to the park. Or maybe I will, and just show them grace, because there's many times in the Old Testament whenever his people have disobeyed him, and he didn't necessarily do what he said he was going to do right away.
Yeah.
You know, he showed grace. Everyone thinks in the Old Testament that God is so hateful and mean and angry and stuff. And I'm like, no. He has shown grace upon grace, and he's been so patient with his people in the Old Testament, where they're the knuckleheads, and it's like, man, they just keep messing up, even though they saw Red Sea part and they walked on dry land.
Yeah.
They were saved from their enemies. They saw all of the plagues that happened. You even go past Exodus into past to those other books, like, you know, you go to even Joshua and stuff, and you see some of the feats that they did there, and it's like, if you'll just listen to me.
Yeah.
I'd say it to my daughter all the time. I'm like, baby girl, if you just listen to me, your life would be so much better.
Yeah. That's more like what God's saying, is that if you'll go my way, look, then you're going to walk right into this greater joy in me.
Right. It's not saying that you'll earn my salvation if you do what I say. You know, it's not one of those things. It's, I'm showing you a better way.
Yeah.
If you'll go this way, your life will be great. Yeah. And stuff. And so that's kind of what he was saying whenever he says if. And I think they always saw the negative side of those things, which is what a lot of people do these days. Yeah. Still.
We do.
You know, see the negative side of that if, whenever God, and then Jesus clarifies later in the New Testament, but God's saying, if you just do what I say, life is going to be so much better for you. Yeah. It's going to be so much better. I'll just bless you because I want to. Like, I love you. I'm just looking for that opportunity I just want to lavish you with, like, just so many blessings and different things, and to make you, really successful whenever it comes to your own life, because I want that for you. But then you're going to get closer to me. Yeah. And that's going to be the greatest joy.
That's really good.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I think that's what, whenever he says, if you obey my commands, and then all of the rewards will come, later. Yeah. But if you don't, then it's gonna, not gonna turn out so well for you. It's the same thing. It's telling his people, his children, essentially, that, man, if you just walk in my way, things will turn out well for you. Why? Because I'm your father. Because I'm going to take care of you. And then if you don't, then I'm still going to love you, but you're going to be disciplined. Yeah. I still love you, but you're going to be disciplined. And then I'm also trying to keep you away from yourself. There's some things about you. That I want to prune, and I want to show you that this is not the way. You've been stuck in slavery for so long. Yeah. And so he knows that. He knows that they've been stuck in slavery for so long. And so he wants to gently take them from that identity, but then they just keep going back. They keep going back to that life of slavery, and it's really, when you look at it, it's a sad thing. It breaks my heart whenever I see people that can't walk in freedom because they're just so used to the life that they used to live. Yeah. They're so used to being chained to a pole, essentially to their sin. And they don't know how to walk from that, even though Jesus is saying, come this way. It's gonna work out so much better if you come my way. I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Come to me. And so I think if we ever got to that point in a sermon, that'd be fun to talk about.
Yeah.
But I really feel like that's what the Lord's really saying to his people.
Well, good deal, man. Well, if you haven't checked out this last Sunday's sermon, go to our website, freedomlifechurch.net. You can actually follow it through the Facebook page. Click the link there, and it'll send you out to it. Take a listen to it. I'm sure it will be a gift to you and to bless you. We also have life groups happening, and so if you're not in a life group, you can also go check out all the life groups that we have on our website or through the app. You can find one. And so we'd encourage you to dive into a life group. And then that way you can discuss more about the sermon, but then also connect and fellowship with others and spend some time there and get some support from the community of faith in a little bit smaller group of people. So we'd encourage you to jump on there. If you need help finding a life group, let us know. Send us an email, give us a call, or just reach out to somebody around you, because chances are you might have somebody around you that already goes to one. So ask them, hey, which one should I go to? All right, so check out a life group. Check out this past week's sermon. It's going to be awesome. All right, and so, hey, love you guys, and we'll see y'all next time.
See ya. Bye.